So many times when we talk about gender, we pack men aside. We basically think fathers, men's, brothers have nothing to do with gender. But gender is really a relational aspect. How women and men relate and the conflicts or non-conflicts that arise as a result, and the different ways we experience being male or being female. So today, in celebration of Father's Day, we have this special edition of Father's Day, and we're hosting fathers. Of course, we are all products of fathers, but specifically I'm interested in men who are fathers. So today, I would like each of us to start by sharing how you've experienced fatherhood, and if this has anything to do with your father. What has been his impact on your life? Paul, if you'd like to go first, and you start by introducing yourself.
Thank you very much, Patricia. My name is Paul Mbaka. I'm happy to be here. Of course, being a father is an important aspect of life. I started off as a reluctant father. For some reason thought I would.
Most men are reluctant fathers.
Yeah, I was really under the impression that I will never have children. But here I am, and I had to deal.
All right, so welcome to Gendered Spaces. It's a space where we talk about how we experience gender. And today, in celebration of Father's Day, we are talking about our own experiences as fathers. Apart from me, of course, I was going to say we are all fathers here. But I could be a father, mother, who knows? How we experience fatherhood, and if our own experience of our fathers had a way it has impacted on us, if there are any gaps you saw in your father that you think has made you parent differently. And so Paul was starting to share, and then we'll move around. Yes.
Yeah, so like I'd said when I was starting off,
That your fatherhood was
I started off as a reluctant father.
Aha, that was the word.
I never thought I would actually be a father. But here I am, a father of 3.
You don't have to say the number. You know men in Africa. Yes.
Of 3 documented children. And I must say I've come to enjoy being a father. I have a young soul, so it is always good that I have people to play with. You can imagine if everyone in the household is trying to be an adult, I would completely feel out of place being someone with a young soul. But I mean, my own experience growing up, my father was very functional, completely unemotional, but he was also very playful. He was tough, and he loved to say that it is important to time my mood. And I have ended up being a person of this type. Some people, you might meet people who mistimed my mood and they can represent me differently. But my kids have somehow grown to know when it's time to play, when it's time to be serious, when it's time to clown. I've raised them like this. I know that I mean, some people find some problems with my parenting style, which is a type that has an excluded middle. We are always either very happy or fighting. We are never in some state that is undescribable from an extreme point of view. But because of the way I was raised in a very functional way, I'm to some extent not in touch with my emotions. Not to say that they are absent, but they are somehow in the back, and they don't come out to the front. And this might have a way in which it affects people. I particularly find no problem with it. It is kind of what I grew up seeing, what I know. But of course, from time to time, I've interacted with people who find this very functional way of dealing with things problematic. But of course, there's also a philosophy that says some of these higher order things like love are a function of achieving the more basic things. So being functional is not exactly a bad thing.
Good.
So I think that's all I can say to realists for this initial stage. Yeah.
Okay, so let's hear from Daniel. Daniel. Both names have a way they trigger emotions in me, so yeah,
Dennis
it's all
and
good.
Daniel.
Yes.
And both names are common in our family.
Ah, great.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Daniel Mugoya. I'm a journalist as well. And I want to thank Madam Patricia for this opportunity.
Madam makes me feel old. You know, I just made 50. Just say Patricia.
I will try to cope up with the
Just say Patricia. I know. Yes. I know.
Okay, anyway, the topic today, talking about fatherhood. When Paul was trying to introduce his side of fatherhood, he brought a word that commonly took me back to, I think 2019. Yeah, the very first time when I became a father. I think it was also reluctant. Because from the time when my wife told me that, you know what,
was she still a girlfriend or she was already a wife?
I think she was still a girlfriend.
Hey,
Thank you for
sometimes the reluctance comes from the status.
The reluctance, yeah. So when she told me that, you know, you're about to be a father, so I was like, how? I was about to tell her, but you know what? In our home, we don't just be fathers at anyhow.
Anyhow, at any age.
At any age. So but then I paused a bit. So I was like, I had to ask some of my colleagues if it was really true that I can be a father.
But were they there?
You
know, when you engage in this business, it's like eating food and...
sister of mine, I asked her, but do you think that pregnancy
is mine?
Is mine.
Were you doing things that constitute pregnancy?
So later on I realized that I should listen to myself. So you can see how I narrowly escaped.
You people, you're hilarious. Yes, but this is a nice one.
Yeah, so of course, through experience, we had to meet all whatever came on our ways, and we had to address them accordingly. And I started getting the experience of being a father. But just like someone who was also raised by parents, there are those things that we used to see, how parents used to do. But there are those that the world would treat you automatically, and then you say, no, this is how things have to be done. Then there are personal choices that you have to make as a person, and I think I have tried my best.
Slightly away from fatherhood, but to do with your emotions. One thing I always wonder about most men, and most friends of mine are men, what is your first reaction to potential fatherhood or fatherhood flight? Many times we want to, I am, honey, let's talk, I'm pregnant, flight. The first thing, why is that the first reaction? And yet you've done things that could potentially lead to a pregnancy.
You know, in most cases, it is so common that when you have something that is so tangible, you fear to lose it. And when you get some information where it will somehow cause suspicions, so you have a lot of fear. You say, I know I love this lady, but am I really the owner of this? So you try to get that. You're trying to fight with what you hear, what you have been saying, and then you're facing the reality.
The reality,
so
okay.
that distance, that connection is what normally brings such situation.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So now let's turn to Patrick. Now, Patrick, if you describe the same dog as Paul's dog, I'll understand. But if it's the elephant that the blind man touched, I also know that we experience things differently. Over to you, your experience of fatherhood, and if there is any way your own father has left an impact on your on your life, if there are gaps you saw in him that has changed your style of parenthood.
Thank you. I'm Patrick. I mainly do social work. So I'm going to talk about my experience of fatherhood. Now, fatherhood is, well, I think it's quite an interesting thing. I am a father of four children. And for me, I'm very close to my children, and because I'm close to them, I think my experience is more like, I would say that my kids are also my friends, or my social, the social group you build with the people you live with, and so on and so on. So for me, fatherhood has been interesting. It has been a way I support myself, both emotionally and otherwise. Yeah, but I would also say that in Africa, especially, as a man, you're expected to be a father, and you're expected to have learned certain things from the past, from your father and your father's father, and so on and so on. So you're expected to live in a certain way. And when it comes, for instance, to my father, when we grew up, he was a tough man, and we were close to him, but there was space between us and him. There were things we could not discuss with him. There were things we could not do together. There were times where we would watch TV, and when a program involves some kind of romance, we would just walk off, and so on and so on.
Or disappear in the wall.
Whereas it was different with our mom, not that, but as we grew up, like myself, I would say it's easy for me to sit with my kids and we watch things together. Whereas when we were growing up, it wasn't easy for me to do that with my father. Of course, my father taught me quite a number of values, things like being patient, appreciating other people, and being social and things like that. But there are other things that perhaps he did not teach us. There are things that that somehow when we got to that space, we found ourselves, not sure what to do. Like Paul said, I would have run away when he was told that his wife was pregnant, but that
Girlfriend, wife.
girlfriend said, I think.
The reaction is always different. Status.
Yeah, so there are things we were not prepared for. So when that time came, it was a bit hard to carry that.
So we're in flight mode as well.
I was in shock. I was in shock, but
You came round.
yeah, somehow I knew this is something you're not going to run away from. So I had to stick there.
I'm just wondering, before just a quick round from you, has any of you wished that when you were first told you're a father, it had been now, when there's a DNA craze and when it is easy to establish? Just a quick, a quick impression of, have you ever wished that, this technology should have been there when I was in doubt?
Well, not me.
Not you. Great. Yourself?
The DNA thing is a bit of complicated. Many of us wouldn't even wish to go do this DNA. I mean, what if tomorrow the kid is not yours? So, I mean, there are all those things to deal with. And many people would rather not do the DNA, but try to check whether the ears of the kids look like theirs, the nose, and so on.
Yes.
So, I mean, even when you're in doubt, you convince yourself that, that is my ear. Or something.
Yeah, that's my nose. Yes.
Yeah, truth be told, at first I was so confident that because of the DNA, I would later on turn things right, if at all they happen contrary. So it also gave me some confidence that okay, let me go on with what has been told, the news that has come, because they are all options.
Yes.
If all turns out the other way, hey, we shall sort ourselves there.
Yes,
And
yes.
then after learning from the job, I found no reason for going for the DNA.
But I think before we run away from this, I think it is important that we classify human beings. There are two words that are used interchangeably. One of them is being a father, and the other one is being a dad. And if I had to choose which day the world should be celebrating, I think a dad's day is a better day to celebrate than Father's Day, because being a father is simply a function of biology, and being a dad is a function of care. And human beings, I mean, I'm an amateur scholar of human behavior. I can
You're next to
tell
the
you-
expert, so
I can tell you that from my observations, I have seen people who value the investments in care they have put in. So it doesn't matter whose child it was in the first place. They have had an investment in care that they value and they would like to protect. And then there is a class of people where the biology is very important for them, and they don't care about the investments in care they have put in. I mean, if you come with a random child from some random place and tell me, Paul, this is your son, it's going to take a while for me to accept that child. But if you told me that one of these kids you have looked after for 100 years
It's
is
not
no longer yours, you would have to use a bulldozer to take them away. But there are people who are on the other side. But for me, I mean, I am more of
dad than
dad
father.
than father.
Great. Speaking of that, Paul, can you share an unforgettable moment, a memorable moment you've experienced as a dad, and why this is so significant to you, which we shall all answer?
Well, my eldest is 18 now. And
The
he has-
hesitant one.
and he has had the phone for a bit. And so one day I was spying on his status, and there was something written that you know, everyone's dad has a PhD. You can only imagine what mine is up to. And I've been trying to do it
To decipher.
ordered off.
Did you mean a real PhD? It's one of those codes of the young generation.
PhD.
Oh, your F, I was going to use the word. So you must be one.
I'm a student now.
I love your son.
I'm a student again, and I'm trying to be serious.
Oh, that's a good one. Good. Patrick?
The moments I cherish, the moments that I remember very well is being able to have some time with my kids. From time to time I have moments where I go out with them, we have a meal or something, and during those times they are open, and it's easy for them to say things to me. I really enjoy those moments. Of course, there have been challenges too. There have been times when you know, you see them not happy, you see them you know, not in their, you know, like normal state, and you want to know why they are like that, why they are not okay, and so on. And it's very difficult for them to say things. It's very difficult for them to share things with you. So I find those very challenging moments. Yeah.
Yes, then Daniel.
I think the challenging moment that I can recall is, you know, my father was someone who was so principled. Right now that we are grown up, you see, he reduced a bit, but during those days was someone who was so principled. So there came a time when the person I'm living with right now, before then when we were dating, she came to our home deep in Birakajwenda, Faibario. So we sat,
Tujameja padola.
Shocking.
Yes, please.
So we sat and we had food together.
Mm.
But because I still feared my dad, I could not tell him that,
That's my girl.
this is my girlfriend. So I kept it at that. These are my people who came from Kampala for the patio.
But these men in that general area of Tororo, I think they create that fear.
Yeah.
I hope that's not one of the attributes you're carrying forward.
No.
Create fear and rule the world.
Sorry. So after like 3 years, this lady is pregnant. And I have to face my dad and say, the person who was here one time actually is the
one.
is the one carrying this the baby. So it came. I had to find means. You're having a function in the village. You say you're moving with someone is pregnant. You say, hey, Dan. Oh, okay. So these are moments that I really found it challenging to talk to my parents because of the way we were brought up, you see, especially my father, because truth be told, right from my childhood up to here, he has never known anyone else.
Wow.
Apart from her.
Great.
And you see how it is now that even if we go to the polygamous side, I really don't know how I can.
You can bring that to him.
Bring that to him. It is something that is so challenging.
Interesting.
So
I think I live in a utopian world, and I was hoping that one of you guys said, oh, my most memorable moment of being a dad or a father is corrected. So when I first touched this band of joy, I know a lot of you avoid carrying this thing for the first 3 months. Clearly I'm wrong, but
but maybe also only the other was shifting from being called Dan to Daddy Favor. So then you're walking and someone says Daddy Favor and you just keep on moving until the person says Dan. Hey, my daughter is Favor. Okay.
Nice. I like that one. Adjusting.
Yeah, and then when the second born also arrived in this world, so it was also another thing. So you get back home with the younger say, oh, but you have 2 kids. Hey,
you're still catering for one. No, talking of that, actually, let me first abandon what I wanted to ask, just to follow up on that. What has it been like balancing discipline, nurturing, providing for the family?
You see,
now that you bring that balance thing,
you see,
as a dad, as a father,
there is no default formula, but everybody has got ways of managing. There are those who manage through emotions. There are those who manage through experience. There are those who manage through lessons and so on.
Yes.
But at first, I just knew that I have to be there. I have to be there when there is time.
Yes.
But later on, I knew that as a man, you see, fathers, if I can just bring this, I'm sorry for taking long, but you see,
no,
fathers,
it's okay.
Fathers are like tractors. See, when a tractor comes to build, to help you build the road, it is so important, it's so useful.
Bulldozer.
But the bulldozer. But after building, you guys are like, let it be carried because it is going to spoil
the road.
Now,
True story.
It's going to spoil our road. So as you grow up and you start experiencing,
you're being
how you're
slowly.
Yeah, then you say, but you're telling me to balance, have this, but remember, as a father, there are some things that are expected on me, and at times I have to be this way more than this way, because at the end of the day there will become a time and then you're like, you're trying to spoil the road. So we need to get rid of you. So how do you build the foundation? So I think the most important aspect is building the foundation of having that shock absorber. Of whatever, if anything that happens, you don't go down.
At that point, they'll pack you.
Yeah, they'll pack you. So it's not about balancing time, balancing what, but how do you build that foundation,
Yes.
to have a firm foundation such that if anything, whether it's happiness, it has a strong foundation.
Yes.
Whether it is grief, what, and so on, you have a strong foundation that you're basing on. So I think that's, to me, that's how I take it.
Great. Patrick, can you share on how you balance discipline, nurturing, and responsibility?
Thank you again. I think I will also agree with Daniel that there's no formula on how to nurture, how to discipline, and so on. Sometimes it's the moment that that dictates how you react and so on. But all in all, it's very important to have certain values. Those values guide the way you live, guide the way you interact, guide a lot of things. And when your children are seeing this, they are being nurtured to be that way. So it's very, very important that we behave in like role models. We are exemplary, and our kids can see from us and they can learn from us. But of course, there are lots of expectations. There are lots of expectations from fathers, and of course from our societies. Our society constructs a man like that, and a woman like that, a father like that, and a mother like that. We usually hear that when a child is clever, they say, well, he got it from his dad, and when the child is
Struggling.
he's struggling, they say he got it from the mother. So again,
Yes, like I recall when the first time I was going abroad, my dad used to like abbreviations. So he wrote this piece of paper that I still keep to date, where he said, work hard and make your father proud. Fail and make your mother cry for days. So that makes sense now.
there are lots of expectations from our society of who you should be as a father, of how your children should be nurtured, and so on. And there are blames. Like if your children behave in a certain way, it comes back to you, and so on. Sometimes it's not part of your value system, but
There you are.
yeah.
Paul, what's your shot on nurturing discipline and responsibility? How do you balance those?
I think I have struggled the most among most parents. If you had to categorize parents, I think I would score among the ones who have struggled the most. I think at the boundaries of discipline throughout my life, and up to now, I still believe there's a place for a little cheekiness, even when there is a lot of seriousness. And all of a sudden, you are not allowed to
be
make
cheeky.
your children cheeky. It's been a bit tough.
The mother be side eyeing you like.
So, I mean, my children are fairly old, but just the other holiday, they stole one. Okay, well, I don't know whether to say they stole,
Let's use
or
picked.
they took one of the cars from home
They
without
picked.
permission.
This runs in your family.
And when they reached Nalia, they're taking videos and sending them to their mother. She wanted to die. And she called me and I burst out laughing. I grew up with my friends, my siblings, they were stealing cars.
That's why I said this runs in your family. Like history repeats
We used to go
itself.
to Silk.
A stolen car. You people stole a whole tractor.
There was deja vu and I was wondering, okay,
And then in my family would laugh.
what am I supposed to do? Is there a real crime here?
Crime and bad manners.
I struggle with this. I mean, you can imagine we grew up
this guy is
smoking
cute.
dry sticks with holes in
Pona,
them. So how difficult, how would it be for me if I found my son or my daughter smoking? when I actually didn't perceive it as a problem. Even now, I don't perceive it like a real problem. I just perceive it as something you have to go through. But of course, it has to be managed a certain way. It has to be managed. And I've struggled. I mean, I've gone to, these days parenting is challenging for everyone. So I went to a parents' day in a boarding school for one of my children, and the teacher is telling me, so we've done our part, you should do your part. And I'm like, wait a minute, this guy has been here for a month now.
3 months, yes.
How am I doing that part that I'm supposed to do while I'm way out there? So there's a general challenge with how to deal with the situation now. The scenario is very different in terms of exposure from what I grew up seeing. And what the kids are exposed to now is a lot more. Parenting them with how I grew up is a bit difficult, and I have tried to balance between. When you become a parent, you realize that there are so many things your parents let you get away with when you're growing up. So I have also learned
you carry it forward
to be blind sometimes. It's like, okay, I have not seen that. Because if I acknowledge seeing it, it is expected of me that some punishment. Some negative stimulus, like
the
psychologists like to say, would be expected. So sometimes you just pretend that that was not observed, so that nothing can happen. Yeah.
So I would like to go back to something that Danny said that really killed me about being Tata Gundi, daddy whoever. How has becoming a father impacted your sense of identity and self? Paul, you start. How has being a father impacted on your sense of identity? Have you been like Danny, where people say Tata flavor, daddy flavor, and you continue like, is that me? Or you don't even do, is that me, because it doesn't register? Yes.
Yeah, unlike Dennis Daniel, I have never gotten used to being called Tata Gundi. I mean, I am in the element of being a dad and a father, but my kids treat me more like their eldest brother.
Oh, wow.
So there's a way we relate. And for me, I appreciate that very much. It has allowed us to interact. But that being a father, I have not up to today. If you say Tata Philip, you might have to add Paulo.
Could it be? Sorry to cut you short. Sorry. Could it be because you gained that status at an early stage?
Perhaps because I started quite early. Probably. Perhaps because I know some people prefer to call me Daddy Paulo.
Which is your own name.
Which is my own name. I am a daddy called Paulo. It kind of works for me. But if you call me Tata Philip, you have a son called Philip, they are more referring to you. So as essential, I don't think it has contributed significantly to my identity. I mean, it is something to be proud of, but I do not wear it as an achievement. I do not wear it as something that defines me per se. But I know it brings responsibility to me, which I cannot run away from, but I don't use it.
But isn't that the benefit? One of the reasons I always admired to be a man, and I think if I'd grown up in the West, I would have had a sex change. Of course, later I started enjoying being a woman. But you see, a woman, when I'm pregnant, I even had a lecturer who used to, at university, who used to tell us that, you see, all of you here, if as two is a virgin, all the girls are going to put up their hands. But I can assure you, by semester 2, some of you will not be able to deny. So, you guys, you're busy doing your stuff, nothing to show for it. And as you move about, but as me, the moment I got pregnant, I'm throwing up, the stomach is growing big up. Patrick, how did this change your sense of identity? Because I would go on, but How has fatherhood impacted your sense of identity and self?
Okay. Yeah, of course, at first there was some fear and things like that, like you're not owning up to what happened or what you did and so on and so on. So you're looking at the child, but you're also saying, well, okay, maybe not, because probably we are not taught well, we are not prepared to be fathers at the time we become fathers. So, yeah. And like for instance, one of my sons is called, he has my names. When he was born, I wasn't around, so he's given my names, both my names. So there are times when somebody is, well, short name, my short name is Pato. So there are times people are calling Pato and we all respond, and so they say, no, Junior, don't be Pato or something like that. So yeah, but yeah, there are times I've been called Daddy Pato. Yeah, many times there are people who call me Daddy Pato. Others call me Pato, but many call me Daddy Pato. And yeah, you hear it, but you kind of not used to it. It's
you never registered.
Like, yeah. The Daddy Pato or Tata Pato is supposed to be somebody
out there,
in
the neighborhood,
somebody older than you, or something like that. Yeah, so
reminds me of my dad when he found out we call him Zei Muzei, which became to Zei. He's like, am I that old? That's what I'm from Daniel. And yes, you already started this startup, Daddy Flavored. Does it register now? If I say that,
favor.
Yes, you had started that nice sharing about how it has impacted your identity. So someone calls you Daddy Flavor and you don't even turn. So how has becoming a dad impacted your identity? How you feel about yourself?
There are people who will start to identify you according to the attachment you have with them. You might be a father, but when that attachment, what they want to identify you, is not there, they will not call you Daddy Favor. They will still call you Dan. By default, they will still call you Dan. But there are those. I think you have ever noticed this when we are maybe in a family meeting, you're home, and someone comes and say, oh, this is the father of so and so and so. But then you will still not prefer calling that person Dad. So you say, Paul, where are you? Paul, first come here. So, and that will go on. So at times I might even have like 10 to 7 kids who are my children, and they are all around. He said his son is 18 years? Yes. 18 years old. They are all around and they call you Dad. But then here there is someone who will not want to have that, to call you maybe Daddy Philip. They say, Paulo, Paulo, why don't you first go and do this? But then you're like, he's been saying that when my son is hearing, my son is... The respect which your son gives you is not the respect which the person is going to give you. So until that person finds that some attachment in you, while the person should also give you that kind of respect, that's when they will feel that sort of identity in you. But I think how I've managed the family, I really now feel there is something.
Great. You know, when you talked about that, to me, it sort of resonates with how we look at culture and some of these roles and responsibilities. So going back to Paul, are there any traditions that have been passed on from your father that you've also passed on to your children now, and why is it important to you? Or are there any that you outrightly rejected and you wouldn't want to pass on?
Well,
for you, your traditionalist.
If you look at my father, you might consider him a traditional man, but he did not define himself as such. He tried to break from tradition, he to a large extent perceived himself as not only modern but also progressive. And I think I am trying to be that. I fail terribly. You know, the word conservative is misunderstood many times, but I am conservative. Conservative
But not
basically
traditional.
means there is a point in time where you are stuck. It
And
doesn't
it has to be
necessarily mean
that.
it is the 80s. It could be sometime in the 90s. It could be sometimes in the 2000s. It means you're just stuck somewhere. And I am also stuck somewhere. Maybe in the late 90s, but I am stuck there. And the things that there are times when I'm expected to be progressive, and I'm not. And perhaps I got that. Perhaps I got that from my dad. But also just knowing that while there are higher order things in life like love, no hungry person is interested in being cuddled. Kind of like when you're sitting on a pin and someone offers you a glass of water because you are thirsty, you sometimes have to choose of these two pains which one takes priority. And for me, I take my function of being able to ensure that I give my kids the best foot in life, the best foot forward in life, as a bigger thing that I should give them, even if I know that there is a gap that I create because of this rat race we are in, trying to put food on the table. And I think that is where the benefit of having someone else cover the gaps you have, some complementarity. If someone else is in touch with their emotions, even if you are not, I think the kids can benefit somehow. So for me, I think that whole, I was able to, unfortunately, pick up that valuing of function over emotion. The problem with it is that you create enough comfort for people to miss the emotion. And because if they were uncomfortable,
Something to do with
they would
self-belonging.
be more interested
In the
bread and
functionality
butter.
than the love.
But now if you create function, now you're
You're never around.
around. So I am suffering from that particular challenge in my life.
Patrick, any tradition that was passed on to you, if any, that you have passed on to your children, and why this is important?
For me, I think that the fact that we value other people as very important. The fact that we don't undermine people, we don't see them as less individuals or less of a person than ourselves, is something that is very valuable, that I got from my parents, that I've transferred to my children. But of course, there are things that we've also failed to transfer. For instance, language is part of tradition. Yeah, my kids speak English. They don't know the local language, partly because, their mother wasn't speaking the language that I was speaking. So we ended up speaking English, and that I think is something that I've missed to transfer. Though as we were growing up, that was very important, that we know our language and we can speak it and relate.
So you've passed down nothing. You said.
Not yet.
No, but you talked, no, not language, but at least you passed on this aspect. And maybe if I could, sometimes it's important to declare conflict of interest. So these men on my right, is this my right or left?
On this
I
side.
have a problem. The ones on this side, they happen to be my brothers. So the things they said, I almost want to ask. But I recall at some point my father complaining that none of you has brought this to the boys. Now, us who go elsewhere, we don't really matter, but to the boys, and because he's quite a close friend of mine, sometimes when he has a message, he's fearing the bearded men. He tells me, tell your brothers. So I remember him saying, these boys have not even brought their kids to me to name. So traditionally, I think the Luo men or the Japadola men, it is the grandfather that gives the name. Now these men, none of them did that. So I told him, but even you, our grandfather.
But that is not accurate. He named all my children. Okay, apart from.
Oh, I'm not aware, but he complained.
Apart from by
So I challenged him like, but daddy, grandpa never named any of us. Those ones are very, very traditional guys. So when you say he considered himself modern, even if we looked at him different, it's quite interesting how at different times we look at ourselves differently. So to you, Daniel, what traditions, what values have you passed on to your children, and why is this important?
Calmness,
Okay.
love, and I think being social. Yeah, because my parents, especially my father, is someone who you will never see him angry in public. But when you are home,
Kiboko.
it is a different story. And he used to listen to Radio 1. And in most cases, his volume was measured. The moment he comes back and tunes on the radio and you find that it is past, then he just knows
Someone touched.
Somebody touched.
He had an invisible thread.
Somebody touched this radio. So on, all of you, irrespective of whether even your mom might end up receiving canes. But then
Yes, those men were like that.
the TV, whenever he would finish watching television, he would pack it. But later on realize that you cannot blame him until you reach such as maybe a step. Because I can't, like for example, I can't blame him of doing something until maybe I experience it the same, and how I handle it will now determine. See, either did he handle it wrongly, or that's how he was supposed to handle it that time, like that. Now with the children, during those days we used to go back home for holidays. Every holiday, and especially these taxis, you were allowed to sit on the Kameme, you call it Kameme. You get back home for the holiday. I remember in my vac, I was almost abandoned in Toronto. So
Because you sat on Kameme.
no, he sent me there and he left me home there. So when exams were back after PLE, I heard in the radio that exams are back. So I had to get a bicycle to the town to call him, say, but Dad, I am in the village and exams are back. What is going on? Then he said, but you are home. This man.
For you, that was not a home. Yes.
So right now, I think I am not doing it because the environment changed.
He was making you a man.
The environment changed. The people, you find people are not so that welcoming like how it used to be, because in our days we were groomed up with it was like a community initiative.
Yes.
But in these days it is
That is your personal project. If you start your project, you are alone. The community will not be in it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think that's what I've not managed, and I will apologize to my dad. But my parents, I only go with my kids. That is when I am moving there.
Yes.
And then after, then we come back home. Because when you tell me that, can you live maybe favor for a month here, it is something I cannot.
Unimaginable. Because Okay, change the battery, then I just have 2 more rounds. I'm going to ask them for advice to future fathers like Joseph and Juma. Potential. They might never even become. And then your last words. Yes, Jose. Happy New Year.
Well, allow me to
Yeah?
borrow borrow from. So
I am what?
You're frying.
I'm not frying them. I am just trying to understand them. You guys, you have a lawyer. But this has been the best interaction. I think I should host men. I have laughed. You know, like I am containing myself, especially Daddy Flavor. Daddy Flavor. Daddy Flavor. You just go. Jose, I'm waiting for you. They're calling someone, it's not me. This has killed me. Yes, honestly.
They are clowns, so they don't fear to poke at me when they could. And I think it's quite enjoyable to be a father. But it's also one of those things that it tests your resilience in terms of your ability to start something and stick to it. And perhaps human beings, while they might think that they are better than everyone else in the animal race, they might need that kind of validation that, hey, by the way, there is something you're not doing very badly after all.
Oh, no, you're not doing so bad.
You're not doing so. So I think it's good to be a father. That validation that you can stick to something. It is also socially noble, and I know people don't want to believe that they can reduce themselves to just ticking social boxes. But there are times when you will not be taken seriously if you're not a father, because there is a certain level of responsibility that you have not been able to manage. So while it is a very low bar, I mean, why should you only tick the high bars? There are also those people who will judge you by the fact that you're a father or not. And it is understandable that not everyone has the opportunity to be a father. There are those who will struggle, either because of biology or otherwise. Being a father itself does not make you a better person than those that have wanted to be and have not been able to. But once you are in that space, there are responsibilities that come with it. There are some joys that come with it. But it's not to say that that those who are challenged should flip backwards to make sure that they can be parents.
Before I come to Patrick, can you speak to, of course, again, advice to potential upcoming fathers? Can you speak to the notion that you have to be married to be a father, or it doesn't matter?
And it is impossible to tell you everything I learned from my father on the spot, but a lot of those lessons can come as we talk. So my father was in this place at some point. You have been a tough father, and you are generally feared. And now you are getting older, but this fear is moving into a space where you are now not getting grandchildren. And you're getting worried. So one day we were at home and we were seated, and my father told us that, guys, listen, I do not want husbands, I do not want wives. If you want them, that is your business. I just want grandchildren. Just give me grandchildren. The mechanism, none of my business. I value those statements. Like, I don't care. I mean, girlfriend, situationship, marriage. And I mean, there are even these days, there are special requests when someone says, hey, listen, I would like to be a mother. I don't want you to do anything. Just be a father. And if you want to be part of the child's life, your business. If you don't, it's okay. I think any of those arrangements is perfectly okay. And like I told you, for me, I am one of those people who value care over biology. And so even adopting a child is quite okay for me.
Great.
Yeah.
Patrick, speak to the same and also speak to the aspect of if you must be married to be a father. But advice to potential upcoming fathers.
Well, I think that, well, let me start with the marriage one. I think that, well, socially, it's thought that when you're married, then you have that social responsibility to, you know, to have a family and have children and care for them and things like that. But experience and time and different narratives has taught us that you don't have to, you know, to be tied to a family or marriage to have children or to have good children. So I'll agree with Paul here that yeah, so sometimes it's not about you know, going through the formal steps that we know traditionally to be right. You can still have children irrespective of whether you're married. The other one is yeah, what do I tell the young people and potential fathers out there? I think that fathers are models, fathers are exemplary, fathers are people we look up to. So as somebody preparing to have children, as somebody preparing to have, you know, to be a father, then it's a moral obligation that you conduct yourself in a certain way, so that your children can, you know, can copy, can pick a leaf from you, or something like that. So I think that is important. But also, of course, it's related with the question you asked earlier on whether, you know, why do people run away when they hear that there's a pregnancy or something? So of course there's a lot of fear associated with things like this and so on, and there are many potential fathers out there who are not yet there because they're scared.
yes. They do whatever it takes.
Yeah, but I mean, this is something that has no formula. So whatever time it comes, grab that opportunity to experience it.
Thank you. Yes, Danny. Advice for
Let me advise
potential upcoming.
Juma.
Yes. Please do.
You see, Juma, one of the things you have to realize is it is being positive. And from being positive, is you get an understanding of going through whatever challenges or whatever comes offside in your marriage or in your parenthood and so on. So I think a father has to be positive but also hold the power. As a father, you have to hold that power as a man. Don't let that power be taken away from you. That's when at times you find that there are people who find challenges in their marriage because that power as a man, someone else might take over the power from you and you remain with nothing. And so what I can tell Juma is, irrespective of the person you have met, one, you have to first understand that this is my person. This is the one I've met. Whether you know, like adults, when you are together for the first days, you might not realize each other's challenges, but as time goes by, you actually understand that the person I saw who was moving like this is actually not. That's not the case. You start seeing some signs. Yes, he's snoring. He's doing what? I say, So you have to combine all this and say, now this is my person. I have to live with no matter what. I have to first understand that this is what God has given me and is mine.
Okay.
So whatever comes, I now use my brain to put on a weighing scale and see if where does it balance? Is it take me away, or can I live with it? Like how we learn to live with COVID-19, remember? So you put on the weighing scale and say, can I live I must live with it at all times, because there is no one else who's going to give me that how to control my home, but it has to be me. So that will identify me as a father and also make me have the responsibility of owning my home.
Okay, as a last round, I will start with you, Daniel, and the last word you want to say in celebration of Father's Day, anything you want to share about Father's Day. But as you do that, I realize you all have daughters. I want you to speak to that bond between a father and daughter, and why there is panic as the girl's breast starts growing and there's a threat of having girls. I want each of you to speak to that as you give your last word. That bond between a father and daughter and the fear as she begins to progress. Yes, we started with you, Daniel.
Okay, Father's Day, you see, I think Paul said it. Being a dad and being a father.
Yes.
What differentiates between the two is, are you celebrated or you celebrate? Who is supposed to celebrate and who is supposed to be celebrated?
You're not like women. For us, we demand Valentine's Day with flowers.
No. So, a father is that someone who should be celebrated. You see. So, not like you celebrate Father's Day. You might celebrate Father's Day, but when there's no fatherhood in you, you're not the dad. So I think you must find ways of being celebrated, and being celebrated is now going back to the values of being a father, a man. Right?
Yes.
Some things that we've discussed here. Yeah. Then.
You and the daughter, and how you feel each person there as she matures.
I think it comes out of love. When you love someone and you create that a lot of attachment, that love, you feel when that person is trying to get to other stages, you ask yourself whether you have really prepared this person enough for that stage. So you feel you still have that attachment.
I used to think that men know how bad they are. They don't have this to happen to their daughters.
It's all about love. That's why even
that's reassuring.
When your daughter has gone with someone and you just get a phone call that, he beat me up, come back home. But rather, instead of, you think later on and say, but what is that you could not sit down and settle it out with him? Why is it? But what will come into your mind immediately? Say, he has done what? No, first come back home. So it rises out of that love and that attachment with your daughter. Some of the things, the steps, what you've gone through in raising. So the moment you try to remember a lot of these things, you feel like you have been betrayed. So you immediately get that. That attachment.
Thank you. Patrick, the possessiveness of fathers over daughters, and a last parting word.
First of all, I would say that usually girls are closer to their fathers, and the other way around. We've heard of the Oedipus complex and Electra complex.
Yes.
Yeah, so your daughter is like, I don't know how to describe it. You're your precious child, and so on and so on, and you wouldn't want your daughter to be hurt, and we are protective because we are guarding that is ours, that we feel is vulnerable, that needs protection, and things like that. I think it's a natural inclination. It's something we do out of, like you said, out of love. Yeah, it's natural. The other one, celebrating Father's Day. Yeah, I think that celebrating Father's Day is important. It honors those who have been there for us, who have fathered us, which also reminds me of we forget on Father's Day to celebrate mothers
who have made you fathers,
who have been fathers. Yeah.
So women like me, I hope you don't agree.
So I think Father's Day should also be something that recognizes, and again, related with gender and the new paradigm of looking at things and things like that. I think that even women can play a role in fatherhood. Okay, so it's not just the father. Okay, imagine spaces where there are no fathers, and yet this boy or child or whatever has to grow up A mother plays a father's role. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Patrick, a man after my own heart. Yes, Paulo. You and your daughter, and as she progresses, and then your last words.
Yeah, so
Parting shots.
you know, when Patrick was talking, you know, he reminded me of an aunt of mine we used to call Uncle Margaret.
Yes.
Because
She was.
she was a man.
She was a man.
She was a man.
Uncle Mark.
But you know, for me, and I don't know
I hope I haven't become
how many
Patrick.
bad words we are allowed to use, but there's some people who I'm an equal opportunity ass whooper. When kids need to be beaten,
They get to
there
beat
is no discrimination whether you are
Girl.
male or female. And my dad, later on in his life, after trying to give his daughters very protective care, one day said, daughters are the new sons. Because he observed more resilience among his daughters than with his sons. So this protectiveness is sometimes actually misplaced. Of course, men, we've grown up as men, and we know what is to be expected. And you can look at your sons and you're like, they'll manage. But you do not know how it is to be a girl or to grow up as a girl. So there's a lot of unknown, and just like Daniel, Dennis Daniel put it, there is that phobia with the level of preparedness that you have been able to create with your daughter. So is she ready to face it? But for me, actually, unlike most parents, I don't even want to say that I'm resigned, but I believe that, well, at some point, if you have to get to the other side, you must start swimming. And radio note is a real principle that I use in life. At some point, it is time to face what you have to face, irrespective of whether you're ready or not. So I am very progressive with my daughter. I have my fears, but I am not going to prevent her from leaping into the dark. What I am more prepared for, and what I've reconciled in my head, is, I mean, if there is anything that, God forbid, happens that would require a corrective measure, you should just be there to help her pick up the pieces. Because I think the problem that we usually have is that most parents would like to prevent everything bad from happening. But in real life, people also prepare for a recovery phase of life. Like, okay, if something bad should happen, what should be done to get us back on track? That is how organizations are run, that is how countries are run. But at home, we try to prevent all bad things and never prepare. And so what happens if a bad thing happens? How shall we move forward? And for me, this is how I'm looking at my daughter. I am going to give her the opportunity to leap into the dark. I just want to be there, just in case she finds nothing to hold and has to fall. I just want to be there to make the fall as painless as possible.
Wow. Very insightful, very insightful.
It reminds me of one of my late lecturers, Barry Francis. Barry Francis once told us that, you know, when you, at a certain age, when your girl reaches that age and you see her trying to look through the mirror, call her, or even tell her, you know, when you see that you're overlooking through the mirror, come and ask me that, you know, you told me that when I'm overlooking at the mirror, I come to you, you tell me something. So I asked myself, but now what? So I think at certain levels, there are ways you can have discussions with the daughter, like maybe this is what you expect, such that the person when the person goes outside there, will expect this, and this is how it is. You now leave it to her to react accordingly. But you have told her that in the world you'll expect this and this and this. There are those which she will expect, she will get there when you even don't know. But at least there are those that you know that you'll expect that. So you tell her that when such things come, address it this way. Yeah.
Okay, great. Paul, Patrick, and Daniel, thank you so much
Thank you
for
too.
celebrating Father's Day with me. You've given me new insight, and honestly, I have new respect for fathers, and also a corrective measure on how I look at men. Happy Father's Day once again.
Thank
We
you.
don't have glasses, but cheers.
Thank you.